AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR live from Don Juan Cigar Bar, presented by Pinhook Bourbon. We are here at Don Juan, 1 hour to go until we set you off into your football weekend. Been an awesome show already. Phil Steele was here. Pete Futak was here. We got our buddy Chris Doering coming up in about 15 minutes from right now as well. But as we kick off hour number 3, there is no Terrio today. Macy Terrio, for the first time in her collegiate career, is running in a track meet for LSU, which is insane and awesome, by the way. So I told Ryan he was not welcome on the show today. He had to go watch his daughter run track. This was not even debatable. But it is still a Football Friday. It is still time to do our college football pick'em segment, which we do to start hour 3 every Football Friday. And I thought, what better way with LSU playing Clemson, not to bring in a former Clemson Tiger, but to bring in a former Tiger who helped LSU polish off the greatest season in the history of the entire freaking sport in beating the hell out of those Clemson Tigers. Zach Von Rosenberg bringing the 2019 LSU energy to Don Juan Cigar Bar. What up, my dude?
I appreciate you having me. I'm excited to be here.
My guy is wearing an LSU Hawaiian shirt, the national champions Hawaiian shirt.
Shout out T-Bob.
And he also brought his 2019 national championship ring here on site. We are bringing all of the good vibes here on a Football Friday edition from Don Juan Cigar Bar. You got your cigar lit. I'm going to go ahead and light up my Bocock LSU championship cigar as well. This is foreshadowing for what is coming in Clemson, South Carolina, in, as Chris Marler would say, Temu Death Valley, which I love that, by the way. I love that line a lot. Dude, how are you? Thank you for coming, first of all. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm enjoying life outside of football. I do miss it. Who wouldn't? But, I'm here, national champion. The last time we played Clemson, we won. So, naturally, I'm glad I got albeit a last-minute invite, I'm glad to be here because I think we're going to beat Clemson again here tomorrow.
We're going to get to predictions for LSU and Clemson as part of a part of the segment in just a smidge. Tell people what you are doing right now in life. I mean, we all know, your story. Zachary, great baseball player, went pro after the pro baseball career, come back, you walk on at LSU. I remember talking to you, man, and there was some thought of maybe trying your hand at quarterback again. Punting ended up being the way, and man, you end up being part of the greatest team ever. So what are you up to now?
I currently sell lightweight aggregate for Arcosa. If you need it, you're going to buy it from me, but it's a very niche market. It's mostly backfill jobs and concrete. If it gets internal curing approved for the state of Louisiana, we'll be in all the concrete here in the state. But it's boring for the people listening. I think we should talk football.
Hey man, we'll talk football. It is the way we do this, Zach. 10 games. 10 best games in college football of the week. We just pick winners, no spread. So we'll go through that in just a quick second. But I got to start, though. Give me some 2019 vibes that Clemson week. Like, it's the game that polished off the greatest season ever. What's your go-to story about that week, that game, whatever, when you go back to that moment 6 years ago? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
So the story actually applies to two different games, to Oklahoma and to Clemson. Clemson was a bigger team than Oklahoma, but I remember the guys when we would meet and do like the both teams meeting together and have dinner or whatever it may be. our guys were laughing at their team, specifically Oklahoma more, but we did the same thing. I remember Caleb Von Chasson, some of the guys on our D, really, I don't want to say being mocking, but basically said, look how small that dude is on the other team. And I'm just like, dude, they're sitting 6 feet from us, man. They can hear you. And that's Clemson is definitely not going to be undersized this year, in my opinion, but that was something I knew and I took away from 2019. Like, man, we got a team. If you're willing to laugh at a guy across from you when you take a snap every down, that's something special, and you got a hell of a team behind you.
I don't think you needed to wait until that moment, though, to know that 2019 was a hell of a team.
No, I didn't. I knew after Texas we were a great team. I just knew, and this is my personal opinion, I may have been overconfident going into the national championship because personally the only team that I thought had a chance to beat us that year was Auburn because they just put a stop to our offense. That was really the only threat to that whole season that I felt like we were going to lose. Potentially. We obviously didn't. We won 23-20, but every other game besides that one, I really didn't have any fear that we were going to lose again.
It was interesting, that Auburn game too, Zach, because that's a game where the LSU defense overwhelmed Auburn's offense for the bulk of that game. When you had to rely on defense to win that game, it was there for that 2019 team. I'm glad you brought up Texas because this does have a similar vibe to it. True road game. I can't remember, but I think y'all might have been a slight underdog in that game. It was close, similar to this one here. But that team in 2019, you had the warm-up game against Georgia State. One of the
Georgia State.
Georgia State. And so it was that opportunity for us. How important was that game to have the opener before you went to Texas? Do you think it matters that this team doesn't have that?
I do think it is important just to kind of get the rust off to get things in rhythm. However, I prefer playing games like this out the gate because you find out who you are very quickly. And, albeit we didn't get our warm-up game that we would like to have, I do think we will be prepared, especially with Brian Kelly being 0-3 in starting matchups. And fun fact, Clemson was 0-3 last year against SEC teams. So you have a streak right there that's going to end. I did come prepared, but no, I know that it's going to be a big game, and we'll be prepared. And Brian Kelly is going to come out with his hair on fire because he needs a win.
The interesting thing about Clemson, they did lose. They played 3 SEC teams a year ago, lost all 3, Georgia, South Carolina, Texas. And Clemson's also lost its last 2 openers. They lost last year to Georgia, 2 years ago to Duke. So that's actually been a conversation they've been having as well as the struggles in losing the last 2 openers. So a lot of synergies here in these 2 teams. We'll get to that pick here in just a second. But let's start it off. Muse, hit the music if you would. This is how we do it. By the way, we're going to need an official ruling here, okay, with what to do with Terrio. So Terrio always says that I cheat and I give him zeros when he no-shows, okay? Now, I'm okay with him not being here today. Like, he's watching his daughter run track for LSU, her first ever track meet. Yes, like, you're going to that. But I sent him Zach, I'll show you the text. I texted Terrio the games earlier today at 1:32 p.m. You can confirm.
No response.
It's this, right?
Yeah, it's
It
blank.
is this sheet of paper. It's the games. 1:32 p.m. He's had almost 4 hours to reply, and I got no reply. So, like, do we give him a 0? Does he wear the collar? Because what's going to happen now, Zach, is he's going to see our picks, and he can pick based upon what we see.
Unfortunately, you got to give him a 0 because he gets to see what we're doing.
Whoo! All right, Terrio. That's 2 against you, bruh. Just here to say. All right, right out the chute. Auburn at Baylor. That game kicks off here tonight, just in a couple of hours. A big one for Hugh Freeze in the opener, going to Waco. True road game. Zach, you get to start us off. Who wins and why?
I got Baylor. Dave Aranda comes out, and they come out balling. They score 40 points. I think it's a high-scoring game. I think he gets it done.
High-scoring game. Interesting. I'm with you on Baylor. It's interesting. Auburn was favored just as this afternoon has played out. Baylor money is coming. That's flipped. Now, Baylor is a slight favorite in that game at home. I agree. I do like the Baylor Bears, mostly just because I'm not sold on Jackson Arnold. He may end up being like the narrative last year at Oklahoma was all the receivers were hurt. That's why the offense stunk. Okay. Now you get a chance to prove it because Auburn has arguably the best receiving core in the country. I mean, they're in the conversation. Cam Coleman's outstanding. They went to the transfer portal. Like, there are no excuses. Like, if you can't do it now, then it's a Jackson Arnold problem. We'll start to get that answer tonight, but I'm with you. I do like Baylor to win at home. Another one tonight, Georgia Tech at Colorado. The Colorado era post-Shadur Sanders begins. The Buffs and the Jackets. Who do you like?
I think they lost too many guys. I think Georgia Tech comes out and wins this one. I think they lost Shadur and they lost their was he number 2 or number 3 overall? I can't remember off the top of my head. But regardless, they lost their best players and they got to reload. But I do think Georgia Tech takes it.
I'm with you with the Yellow Jackets. True road game here in Boulder, Colorado. Night game. Georgia Tech's got to go across the country to play it. But I'm with you. I do like Georgia Tech. Haynes King, veteran quarterback, give the edge to Georgia Tech there to go into Boulder and get a win. The big one, a big 11 a.m. kickoff with Texas at Ohio State. Preseason number 1 versus number 2. Who you got?
Only because they're at home. If this is a neutral field, I'm probably picking Texas. But because it's at Ohio State, I got Ohio State.
So I always have an issue with teams that lose 14 guys. Like a great example is that 2019 team. You get 14 guys drafted. You're going to feel that the next year. That's what Ohio State has to deal with. But the portal era does help minimize that impact a little bit because you can go get key guys out of the portal. I don't know what to expect from Julian Sayin at quarterback. I don't know what to expect from Arch Manning in his first major start like this. When I have a coin flip game, I usually look at 2 things. I look at coaching, and then I look coach, quarterback, venue were the 3 things. If quarterback's a push, coach, Ryan Day's won a national championship. Sark hasn't. Venue, it's at Ohio State. I give a slight lean to Ohio State, so I'm going with the Buckeyes at home. You had the Buckeyes as well?
3 for 3, yep.
All right, Zach and I are thinking alike. This one probably shouldn't take very long. Tennessee, Syracuse, neutral site game in Atlanta.
Tennessee. I just think Tennessee's too much for them. I think Syracuse might stick around through halftime. All Tennessee in the second half.
Tennessee defense wins this one. I think it's an easy win. It's a 13.5-point spread. I'm not touching the line in this game, but I think Tennessee, because of their defense, wins and wins easily. Bama at Florida State.
Bama, Florida State has too much, to overcome. They're really trying to rebuild, and it's just been tough for them. I do think they're a historic program, and they will make a comeback, but I don't think it's this year. I think it's Bama all the way. Same
feeling that I have about the Tennessee game. I don't trust Alabama's offense with Ty Simpson. I don't care that Ryan Grubb is there. I think Bama's going to win. Again, I'm not touching the point spread, but this is more of a Bama's defense being able to travel and limit Florida State offensively with a quarterback from Boston College and Thomas Castellanos that I don't think is going to be great. This is a game I think Bama wins, but bro, I've been saying this all offseason. Hey, Bama, don't you go lose this game. You go down to Tallahassee and lose this game, I swear to you, as sure as I'm standing right here, Monday, somehow, some way, your boy's going to find his fat behind on a white horse dressed up like Chief Osceola throwing a flaming spear in the ground. You better believe an epic Bama is burning with me riding a white horse is happening on Monday if y'all lose this game. Don't you go mess up and lose this game, Alabama. All right, Utah at UCLA, former conference mates, now a Big 12, Pac-12, well, no, Big 12, Big 10 matchup, Utah at UCLA.
I think it's a low-scoring game, but I think Utah wins. I really do. I just think UCLA, they've had too much controversy at quarterback, some weird stuff going on there. Don't need to get into it, but I think Utah takes it. We're on a roll here.
I'm going Utah as well. The Nico era at UCLA begins. Remember, LSU fans got to experience this a few years back in 2021. UCLA students aren't on campus yet. And so that is going to be a ghost town in the Rose Bowl, except for Utah fans wearing red who are going to go to that stadium and cheer on this team. I think it's a big bounce back here for Kyle Whittingham. They were favored to win the league last year and finished last. A disaster of a season, big bounce back for Utah. I think the Nico era at UCLA starts off with a dud. We'll move into Sunday, Virginia Tech, South Carolina neutral site in Atlanta.
South Carolina, and the bias is just the SEC bias. I know Virginia Tech has a good team, and they're supposed to have a good team, but it's the SEC bias speaking to me. I think South Carolina wins.
I think the quarterbacks in this game are actually comparable. I think the talent defensively for South Carolina on the defensive line was their big edge. I am not a believer in Carolina. I think they're a 5-loss. I think they're a 7-5 football team this year, but I do think they are a better team then Virginia Tech, and I think South Carolina will win that neutral site opener. But I do think Carolina is a 7-5 football team this year. I think we're finally going to disagree on one, Zach.
Finally.
Catholics versus convicts reimagine. Notre Dame at Miami Sunday night.
I think Miami loses 3 games this year, but not this one. I think they take it. I think Miami wins, and I think they win handily. And I just have that gut feeling. I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
Okay. Wouldn't hate to see it. But, we're going to see if C.J. Carr is the real deal at Notre Dame. I look at Miami, again, went back into the portal. I look at Carson Beck as a guy that made so many bad decisions. I don't care about the arm talent. Lots of guys have arm talent. You got to be able to play the position. His inability to make good decisions at Georgia, I think, hamstrung that offense a year ago. I don't think that translates. My goodness, Miami had the number 2 total offense in the country. It was Miami and Syracuse. I'm trying to think which one was 1, which one was 2, but they were right there. So you got a system that works. I don't know that you have the driver behind the wheel to make that thing go. I do think Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, all the talent defensively, Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, and maybe with Jeremiah Love, the best running back in the country, arguably, go into South Beach and get that win. I like the Irish. All right, 2 more. Bill Belichick's debut. They play TCU in Chapel Hill.
They get smoked. TCU all the way. Just think there's been too much this offseason. I don't want to bring in Bill Belichick's girlfriend, but it's been a little bit strange picking TCU, and you may be, we're deferring again. But I got TCU.
I'm going North Carolina. You're going to give me the greatest coach of all time to find a way to win a game in his home opener when that stadium in Chapel Hill is going to be going bonkers for it. Yeah, in the same way that Coach Prime won his debut against TCU 3 years ago, I think Bill Belichick gets it done game 1 against TCU there in Chapel Hill. All right, I know which way you're going. Tigers versus Tigers, LSU versus Clemson. Who wins and why?
I'm going to be honest with you. I was very negative about this game until a couple of days ago when, Dabo Sweeney came out against A.J. Halsey and got him essentially banned from the first half. And I sense fear. I smell blood in the water. So naturally, I'm picking LSU. And just because of that issue, I'm going to pick LSU 41-20. 41-20 is the score, which LSU, we beat them 42-25, and it's a similar score, right?
You should have gone with the same score.
I should. You know what? I should have.
You want to change it?
You know what? We're going 40. Yes, exactly right. We're doing the same score. Why not? I think we game stays close till third quarter. I think we take over in the fourth. We got to avoid 3rd and 7s for Nuss. Nuss can't do it all himself. I think our O-line has to win this game. They have to come out and play. Brian Kelly has said that he trusts our O-line. He believes in our O-line, and he's seen a lot of good O-line at Notre Dame, and I believe in them. And if he has made all these commitments and to say we made adjustments, we've gone out and got people in the portal, I really think we're going to win, and I think we're going to win handily.
You had an opportunity right there when you said 3rd and 7. You could have said 3rd and...
Was it 12?
3rd and 17.
17, that's
you
right.
You had an opportunity right there. The epic play that set that 2019, that lit the fuse. Burrow to Jets, 3rd and 17 for the score. Broke Matthew McConaughey's heart, and LSU is off and running toward an undefeated season in a national championship. This guy was part of that special run. Zach Von Rosenberg, brother, thank you so much, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. A national champion. He's going to leave the ring here for me to take home. We appreciate that sincerely from Zach. All right, I'm just kidding.
No,
all right. We're here.
You can have it for the night.
We're here for the night. We're here. I wonder what that would get me if I walked around and told people like I was a walk-on the team. Yeah, man, I played college football 6 years ago.
I think
Zach Von Rosenberg did it as a 38-year-old, right?
I was easy. I was 30. I was 30. Yeah, 29 that year. 29.
It's after further review. We're going to knock out a quick break. We'll come back. Our buddy Chris Doering of the SEC Network will join us. It's a Friday edition of AFR, live from Don Juan Cigar Bar, presented by Pinhook Bourbon. And glad you're hanging out. Don't you move here. It's AFR.
AFR.
All right, I want you to do this if you haven't done it yet. If you own a home and you're curious the value of your home, I want you to go to agent225.com. I'm explaining in a second. So Darren James, of course, the number 1 realtor in the state of Louisiana. Wall Street Journal's Real Trends list the top 1% of realtors in America. He's on that list. And you're talking about the top 1% of realtors in the entire country. Darren James, number 17 in the country. Darren, they just redesigned agent225.com. Go to the homepage, agent225.com, agent225.com. Doesn't matter where you live, by the way. Type in your property. This will take you 30 seconds. Type in your property address where it says home value, and you will get in literally less than 30 seconds from the time you type up Agent 225 just as quickly as you can type your address. You'll get your property value right there. How much is your home worth? And then you can start that conversation. Do you want to sell? Is it time? What equity do you have in there? Do it today. It's agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
We are live today from Don Juan Cigar Bar in Town Center, presented by Pinhook Bourbon. You ain't tried Pinhook Bourbon. Get on by Don Juan today. Hang out with us, smoke you a cigar, get you a cocktail, enjoy some Pinhook Bourbon, or learn more at pinhookbourbon.com. SEC weekend is upon us. Chris Doering, SEC Network, former Gator great. Good enough to join us for a couple of minutes. CD, great to chat, man. How are you?
Matty, I'm doing great, man. Good to be on with you, and I'm jealous. It sounds like you guys are having a little Friday fun, man.
Hey, man. Next time you're in BR, we'll pop into Don Juan. Maybe we can even fly T-Bob in. We'll have a time at Don Juan.
I would love to. It's been too long since I've been down in BR, man. I'm looking forward to getting back there one of these days soon.
Week 3, Florida Gators in Baton Rouge. Let's make it happen, man.
I'm locked up here in Charlotte, man. It's been a busy start to the season already with shows we did, a couple of them last night around that Missouri game and SEC this morning already today. So it seems like we waited forever the season to get here. Now I'm getting steamrolled, man. It's a lot of fun, though.
We got a big one tonight, though, Chris, with Auburn at Baylor. Odd to see Auburn go to Waco, but a rare Friday night game, and one that feels really, really important for Hugh Freeze, for a program that's looking to bounce back after a disappointing season a year ago. I know you're big on this matchup. Why do you think this one is so important for Auburn?
I'm glad you mentioned the importance of this ball game, because I honestly believe it's the most important ball game of all of the games involving SEC teams this weekend. I just feel like, Matty, this Auburn team is tough to figure out, man. I think they have the biggest range of ceiling to floor. I think it was a tough offseason for their coach, for the program in general, and they need a little positivity. But like, one of the things that kind of disappointed me the most were comments that Hugh Freeze made at media days about Jackson Arnold and needing his confidence level to be high, to the point where he tells his defense coordinator to kind of take it easy on him. Man, I think that probably did the worst to build the confidence of your quarterback when he's thinking he's having good practices, and meanwhile it's set up for his success. It sounded like the Truman Show or something out there. But I tell you, this is a game, I think, if they have success and Jackson Arnold plays well, the offense plays well, it could be a springboard to a season where maybe they win 9 games, maybe they make a push for the college football playoff. But if they lose, I mean, I think the noise around the program and maybe some self-doubt creeps in, and it could be the beginning of kind of a death spiral downward.
By the way, do you think Auburn wins this game tonight?
I do. I'm kind of looking at it through SEC glasses a bit, but I have to believe that the way that Hugh Freeze has recruited in the last couple of years, what they've done in the portal, the roster to me looks like it's deeper and more talented on the Auburn side. The thing I don't know about, they did not do well in one possession ball games. And if you look at the point spread right now, Auburn's favored by 2.5. If they get into a close game late, can they turn the fortunes and win some of those close games? I think that's kind of what I'm looking at the most tonight.
Well, Auburn and Baylor here on Friday night, but what a weekend, man. It'll start 11 a.m. Central Time, the big noon kickoff with Texas at Ohio State. You know, it's so interesting, man. This game's a virtual pick'em as of right now with Texas at Ohio State. 2 talented teams, but a lot of new. Which new do you think is more effective Saturday?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, too, because new is what we're talking about in quarterbacks. New is what we're talking about with a lot of pieces around the quarterback. Both, kind of offensive lines have some new folks there. Both have some new receivers they'll be depending on. But how about new coordinators? That's the difference here, all right? Texas has some stability. Pete Kwiatkowski, who I think is one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, is back again on that side of the ball. Steve Sarkisian calling the plays on the offensive side. So schemes are very familiar to these players, whereas you look at the other side, Ryan Hartline takes over as the offensive play caller. You bring in Matt Patricia from the NFL as the defensive coordinator. And I think that's kind of the matchup that I'm most looking at as I look at this, Matty. When you're an NFL coach, you have access to your players for all hours of the day. You can do a lot more, and I think the tendency is to try to do too much. In the college level, you do have the 20-hour rule. You do have guys that aren't quite professionals yet, even though they're being paid now. So I'm curious if Matt Patricia tries to do too much against Sark with all the different things he can do to you with personnel groupings and route combinations and play creativity. I think if he tries to do too much, they could get caught playing slow or out of position and miscommunicating. And I think that could be the difference here is the relative newness of the coordinators of Ohio State to the established coordinators on the other side of Texas.
Chris Doering, SEC Network, hanging out with us here, Friday edition of AFR from Don Juan Cigar Bar, presented by Pinhook Bourbon. I want to get your thought, obviously, on LSU-Clemson. We'll get to that in a second. But of all the trash that we're going to see around the country and the conference in week one, a lot of, 4, 5, 6 touchdown spreads, is there any game where we're looking at a super lopsided spread where it's not going to be competitive, but there's a storyline somewhere baked in where you are super interested in the league this weekend? Yeah,
I mean, I think the Tennessee-Syracuse game is one that I'm kind of drawn to as you ask that question. Tennessee almost a 2-touchdown favorite. I just love the storyline of Josh Heupel drawing a line in the sand when it came to Nico Iamaleava in the offseason. And yeah, I know a lot of people have questioned marks about what that position is going to look like with Joey Aguilar taking over. But honestly, tell me, Matty, when was a game that you watched of Tennessee's last year where Nico Iamaleava won the game for you? I could say I think they lost the game for them. I think his performance late in that Arkansas game was a big part of why they didn't were upset by Arkansas. But I think they won games because of Dylan Sampson and Tim Banks' defense. And I know you lose a couple guys up front, some big contributors on the defensive side. I think the big matchup is the Syracuse offensive line against the defensive front that I expect to be really good for the Tennessee Vols this year. Joshua Josephs was being talked about last year as a guy that was going to be a breakout star. Didn't quite do that. He was pretty solid at times, but I think he does take that step this year. And I think that defense swarms over Fran Brown's offense that is replacing a lot of guys from last year.
Yeah, Tennessee defense. People forget, CD. I mean, Dylan Sampson was the SEC Player of the Year. I mean, he was great. Yep. By the way, Nico running out of bounds with no time left against Arkansas, that probably cost them an opportunity to maybe go win that game. All right, LSU-Clemson, man, everybody here is just is on edge, man. It's peak season opener energy with this game going on. First of all, do you the A.J. Halsey news that broke on Thursday that he'll be suspended for the first half, do you think that has any impact whatsoever on the game?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe more motivation on the LSU side. Reports that Clemson had something to do with that being reported. I mean, the rule's the rule.
Yes.
Whether they found out Thursday or they found out 3 months ago, I don't think it really matters. Now, obviously, you want to have your starting lineup be at full strength for the entirety of the game. That's not the case here, and I have faith that there's enough good players in that back half of the defense to be able to compensate until Halsey can get back in the second half. So I'm not making that big of a deal out of it.
Okay. What do you think is the key matchup in this ball game with LSU and Clemson? Either team, either side of the ball.
I imagine the reason that you guys called me today to be on the show is because everybody saw my proclamation about LSU winning the SEC championship, winning the national championship.
Might have been part of it. We might get there.
Yeah, I won't get to that part. But the reason I'm all in on it, and I think the biggest thing that I'm watching Saturday in this game that will dictate how the season goes is the offensive line. And I know a lot of people want to talk defense, and certainly that's a big part of it, but they've got to take some pressure off of Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, we mentioned on the show last night, he threw for 4,000 yards last year. I don't want him to throw for 4,000 yards this year. I want him to throw for less, being able to depend more on the running game, to have a little bit more balance in the offense. And I know Joe Sloan wants to lean that way, but if you can't block up front, if you can't move somebody up the line of scrimmage, if you can't protect, this could be a long year. And this probably is the toughest task that they'll face until they get into maybe SEC play later in the year. But this is a really good defensive front for Clemson that they're going to have to be tested early, and I honestly believe that they'll pass. I like LSU's chances to go in there and win this ball game. Everybody can say what they want about LSU being 0-5 in their last 5 openers, but we talked about it last night. Clemson hadn't exactly lit it up in openers either lately. I think they're 1-3 in their last 4. So something's got to give in this one. And I think that LSU, I give them a lot of credit. Both these coaches, actually, a lot of credit for kind of changing their perspective on how they built their rosters. Dabo Swinney dipping into the transfer portal after being resistant before last season. And then we all know that Brian Kelly went in there and whipped everybody in the transfer portal class that he put together.
It's amazing what happened when you have bags of cash to spend.
Yeah.
Your perspective on how to build a roster may change. All right, Chris Doering, SEC Network, Gator legend, as you just mentioned, does have LSU winning the SEC, making a run in the playoff. Why?
Yeah, I think we see a rematch of this Clemson-LSU game in the national championship game.
I love that so much.
Why? Yeah, it would be great, right? I mean, we saw a great one in 2019. It's going to be a good one Saturday. But I honestly believe that in addition to the offensive line living up to my expectation, Blake Baker, we saw the jump from year 1 to year 2 in Como when he was the DC at Missouri. I think you're going to have a similar situation because not only do your players know how to run the scheme a little bit more after being in year 1 under it last year, but the defensive coaches know how to better put those players in positions to be successful. And maybe one of the other things I have my eye on this weekend that could dictate what the rest of the season looks like, you almost forget that Harold Perkins Jr. is back for another year after the injury last year. That they're working him there at that star nickel spot. I think that Blake Baker will do a great job of using him. Obviously Whit Weeks is the kind of stabilizing force in the middle of that defense, but I think the X factor that is Harold Perkins is something I'm keeping my eye on. I think the defense is going to be a lot better. I believe in the run game, and I know Garrett Nussmeier is going to do a great season back here in his 5th year in Baton Rouge. He
is Chris Doering of the SEC Network. You'll get him at Chris Doering on Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it. And he'll be coming to Don Juan Cigar Bar soon enough. Thanks,
man. Thanks, Matty.
We appreciate Chris Doering for a couple of minutes. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020. You want to see 2020, call 924-2020 for the Williamson Eye Center. Dr. Blake Williamson, awesome guy. They do awesome work. They've changed lives, man. Literally, they've changed mine. Dr. Blake Williamson did my LASIK. I think what are we, 7-8 years ago now? Coming up in September. If you live your life with contacts and glasses and you want to ditch them forever, to wake up in the morning and just see, it is a transformative change you can make, and Dr. Blake Williamson can help. But it starts with that consultation. Call 924-2020, 924-2020, or go to williamsoneye.com. Okay, y'all, we're here at Don Juan Cigar Bar, presented by Pinhook Bourbon. An amazing story behind Pinhook Bourbon, and I could not recommend it enough. Neat, rocks in your favorite cocktail. Their Core 3, which we've got on set with us here, their bourbon, their rye, their cask strength bourbon. Look for it, ask for it. Trust me, I would never lie to you about whiskey. You all would out me as a fraud. You know that. I'm a big fan of Pinhook and have been for years, and glad to have them on the show with us today. So wherever you go, football Saturday is upon us. Make sure you grab some Pinhook bourbon. Okay, y'all. I've made you wait long enough. I'm going to give you my official LSU-Clemson pick. We'll wrap up with a thought on the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. We'll do that as we continue next here on AFR.
AFR.
Hey, if you want to feel your best, Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness can help. And yes, they do ED treatments. That's part of what they do, but it's only a part. At Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, their whole objective is to get you feeling your best inside out. What can they help supplement to make you feel and live your most optimal life? Maybe it is ED treatment. Maybe it's hormone replacement therapy. I can tell you, I've shared my story for years. Lived in a hospital for 9 months with my son. It aged me dramatically. I had the testosterone of a 70-year-old man, started on HRT, and I'm telling you, from the first day, it's an invigorating feeling to feel like you did when you were younger. It's affordable, lowest prices, never any contracts. If it's HRT, if it's one of their many different peptide therapies to help you live optimally. NAD Plus is great for energy. BPC 157 for recovery. Learn more and live your best life. YourGoodwood.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Yeah, definitely. I love that dude to death. Coach Baker, he's really changed the game of football for me. Like, I love football more now than I ever have in my life just because of him. Like, he's so much fun to be around all the time, and he's really simplified the game, not only for me, I'm sure for everybody on the whole defense. And whenever, it's simpler, you can just fly around and make plays.
Whitweek's talking about Blake Baker's influence on this LSU defense. One of my bold prediction for LSU this year that we put up at Louisiana Sports.net, that LSU, for the first time since 2017, would finish top 20 nationally in total defense. I believe Blake Baker, year 2, with Whitweeks, with Harold Perkins, with all that talent in the defensive front, and improved secondary thanks in large part to the transfer portal and adding DJ Pickett. I do think this will be a top 20 defense in the country. Plenty of time to prove that out. Hey, real quick, of course, LSU-Clemson, Zach Von Rosenberg was here a bit ago talking 2019. Of course, Joe Burrow, the core of that team. I want to remind you again to dine with 9 on 9/9. Mark that date, September the 9th, 9/9, Joe Burrow's number, Supper Club. 9% of all the proceeds going to the Joe Burrow Foundation on September the 9th. So 9/9, dine with 9. Joe won't be there. Joe's going to be playing in the NFL. But it's a great way to benefit the Joe Burrow Foundation and Supper Club, our great partner, partnering there as well. By the way, also, if you go check out any of the 104.5 ESPN social media, you'll see the Winning and Boozing cocktail video where, shout out, hat tip to Chris Marler, Rivers Huey. They did an awesome job with it. They made that cocktail to compliment Winning and Boozing at the bar at Supper Club, which we tell you all the time is open seating. So it's Friday night, you want to go pop in, have a cocktail at Don Juan, or a cocktail, at Supper Club, you can do it at Supper Club. Get your reservation. Again, remember, September 9th, dine with 9 on September the 9th at Supper Club, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. All right, got to give you a pick, and there's no way I'm going to wrap the show with my pick, because we're not wrapping this week with bad vibes. I just refuse to do it, so we'll wrap on a much higher note. But I've told you since SEC Media Days, my lean was Clemson in this game, and I've been to every fall camp practice that was available to the media. I've watched LSU a ton, and it has reinforced my belief that LSU is a college football playoff team. And I am picking LSU to win the Southeastern Conference and beat Texas. I think LSU will have a landmine somewhere along the way in conference play, just because it's really hard to go undefeated. I think they'll be 7-1. I think they'll go to Atlanta, and they'll beat Texas in the SEC championship game, win the SEC, go to the college football playoff, and I'll cross my fingers, hoping that LSU gets a great draw and makes a run to another national championship, where I hope along the way we see a rematch between LSU and Clemson, because I want to see what this game would look like in October or November or December or January as compared to what it's going to look like Saturday night in Clemson, South Carolina. When I look at this are two very evenly matched teams. If you just go position by position, quarterback, we love Nuss, they love Cade Klubnik. These are two of the top guys in the country by any metric, any standard, draft projection, All-American, Heisman, all of it, it's all there. It's a virtual push with those two. Clemson has the edge on the offensive line. LSU has the edge at running back. It's a push at wide receiver. They return their top 3 guys. LSU never a shortage of great receivers. LSU's got the edge at tight end. At defensive tackle, Clemson's got the edge there. At defensive end, I think LSU has the edge there with the depth. Well, I think TJ Parker's outstanding. I think LSU's numbers and depth there are better. At linebacker, you give me Whitweeks and Harold Perkins, I'll take LSU. Clemson has the edge at cornerback with Avon Terrell. And I think at safety, it's probably a push, maybe a lean to LSU with A.J. Halsey. This is so evenly matched. By the way, LSU has a decided edge in special teams, so if it does come down to the third phase, I give LSU the edge to make that kick, make that game-changing play in special teams if it comes down to that. As a matter of fact, Eric McLean, former Clemson Tiger, now on the ACC Network, was on this show this week and said, his quote was, "I pray to God it doesn't come down to special teams," because Clemson would be in trouble if it did. Whenever I am at a stalemate in a game, when I look at something and it's evenly matched, this is just, I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. It's just how I've always done it. If I think two teams are evenly matched and I don't give a decided edge, talent, quarterback, somebody that one way or another, I look at 3 things. This is what I've always done. If you listen to the show, you've heard me say this before. I look at coach, quarterback, and venue. Those are the 3 things I use as the tiebreaker when I can't decide on a game? Well, I just told you I think quarterback's a push with Nuss and Klubnik. I think both. Cade Klubnik threw for 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions last year. He was outstanding, and he has the ability to affect the game with his feet. So I'm not going to minimize Cade Klubnik. I think he's an outstanding player. I think both are outstanding quarterbacks. That is a push. I don't give a decided edge either way. Coaching, you could say Dabo Swinney because he's won 2 national championships. And you wouldn't be wrong. Brian Kelly's also the winningest active coach in college football. And I think coaching, you have 2 of the greatest coaches of this era. Dabo has the national championships. But I think this is a game where I don't know that I would give a decided edge there either way. So the third is venue, and this really, to me, comes down to venue. As a matter of fact, we had Johnny Avello, the sportsbook operator at DraftKings, on earlier this week. He said Clemson gets 4 points home field advantage. If they were setting this line at a neutral site, LSU would probably be like a half a point favorite. If this game was in Baton Rouge, LSU would be favored. It's one of those things where it really does come down to 2 evenly matched teams, but this is game 1 for LSU with so many new pieces brought in from the portal. And you've got to go on the road against the team that returns more experience and more production from a year ago than any other team in America. When it comes down to it, that venue is probably the differentiator in this game for Clemson. By the way, Dabo Swinney, in his 17th full season, if you count his interim year, it's his 18th season, in his home openers, not season openers, but home openers, he's 17-0 and 14-3 against the spread. That is daunting. That is ominous. It is just, I wish like hell LSU had a week 0. I wish this was 2019 where you had Georgia State before you went to Texas, but you don't. You're going to figure out your offensive line. You got to play without a great safety in the first half. You're working in so many transfers at tight end, at receiver that are going to factor in for you here. Defensively, you've got transfers all over the field that I think by the time we get to October, November, December, LSU might well be the best team in the country by the time we get there. They're just far from a finished product today. And I think the toughest game on the toughest game on LSU's schedule, even tougher than going to Tuscaloosa and Oxford and Norman in November and all that. The toughest game on LSU's schedule is Saturday at Clemson. So it's very hard for me to look at that, considering all those circumstances, and go with LSU. I think this is a tight game. I think this is an under game where I'm not going to play the line aside. If there's a play on this game, I think it is on the under, which is at 57.5. I hope it keeps ticking up. I may take a look at the under, but I think this is a 20s game, and I think Clemson wins it 27-24. I'm not buying into all the 5 straight openers and all that stuff. That so much of that is circumstance of who you play, and the ones before Brian Kelly don't even affect Brian Kelly. But I'll take Clemson in a close game, but I'm not sure LSU loses again after that. And it's going to be a hell of a season. And I'm excited about a great game Saturday night in Clemson. And I hope on Monday we're back here and y'all are pointing and laughing at me. All right, we're going to wrap up the show from Don Juan Cigar Bar, presented by Pinhook Bourbon, next.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Glow Resources and glowresources.com. GLO, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions at Glow Resources. When we talk about Glow Resources, I talk about a business that helps businesses optimize. When we talk about Glow Resources, their job is to help you be optimal in your business, because what they do is work with you, the business owner, the hiring manager, the HR coordinator, the ops manager, to find the best people for your job, whatever that is. If it's accounting, if it's legal, if it's media, no matter what industry you're in, every business thrives when you have the right people in the organization in the right seats on the bus. That's what Glow Resources does. Over the course of a year, they will conduct some 15,000 interviews. They are experts at knowing what questions to ask to help you find the right people for your business. So stop wasting time, money, and resources and get the right people and let Glow Resources help. GlowResources.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Down the stretch we come, final segment here on a Football Friday edition of AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Of course, this is the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. We do pause to commemorate all those who lost their lives and so much, and honor a resilient state that's continued to power forward. I have been asked no less than 10,000 times since T-Bob left what's going to happen to Whiskey and Wine, and it's only appropriate that we finish this show here, where we've made Whiskey and Wine our home since the 2020 season, a show that started with me and Jordy back in 2017. T-Bob in 2021 jumped aboard and really took that show to a completely different level. But Whiskey and Wine at Don Juan is going away. I do plan on doing a post-game show in the same format, just from my home and on my personal YouTube channel. I'm going to call it Whiskey and Wine because it's the thing Jordy and I started when we did it from our homes back in 2017. I'm going to sit on my back patio. I'm going to drink a whiskey. I'm going to smoke a cigar. And we will do an unfiltered post-game show. It's just going to be on my personal Matt Moscona YouTube channel from my house instead of here at Don Juan. Love Don Juan. We're so grateful that they hosted us for Whiskey and Wine for as long as they did. There's no replacing T-Bob. You can't find another T-Bob. So the nature of that show was going to change inevitably when he left. But you're damn right. I'm going to be doing a post-game show. Of course, I'm going to be talking about it as unfiltered a way as I've ever wanted to. It's just not going to be the rigidity of it's got to be 90 minutes on the ESPN channel the way it's been. It's just different. Like so many things change. But as soon as the clock hits 0 with LSU and Clemson, I'll be live, smoking a cigar, drinking a whiskey, and we'll hope that you'll join us on the Matt Moscona YouTube channel for a new Whiskey and Wine. Alondra, thanks. Moose and Paulie back in studio. Thanks. Y'all have a great one. Go Tigers.
After further review.
As we get out of here, I want to remind you about our friends at Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. As we always say, Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. OLOLRMC.com/LSU. OLOLRMC.com/LSU if you want to learn more. But, when LSU's taking on Clemson Saturday, we hope everybody, of course, stays healthy. But in the event that something does happen and a player's injured, the doctors that are going to take care of the LSU football players on Saturday and all season long are Our Lady of the Lake physicians. The doctors that take care of the LSU students at the Student Health Center are Our Lady of the Lake physicians. The doctors that take care of, me and my family are Our Lady of the Lake physicians. See, Drew's treated at Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital. My own personal physician, Dr. Curtis Chastain, part of the Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. The bottom line is if it's cancer, if it's any different type of treatment, you want the best, you want Our Lady of the Lake.